What's up, guys? This is your head coach Kuya for Smash Ultimate, and for today's class, we're going to go over some tournament tips, beginner version. So let's talk about what's going on. This will be a new series covering tournament-related insight from a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate coach, me. This is the first part of a 4-part series going through each skill level, so beginner, intermediate, advanced, and professional or pro. No matter what skill level you're at, you will learn something valuable from every class from this series. So basically, I wanted to focus a lot on what it's like to compete and some things that help people that want to compete or are competing. And the best way that I could have helped people is to break it down in these 4 different parts. So we're going to go over what locals are, why they're important. We're going to talk about experienced over trophies. We're going to talk about friendlies, talk about some tournament rules and some stage preparation. If you have any questions about tournaments or locals or anything pertaining to Smash Ultimate, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them as soon as possible. Or you can join us for our live Discord class. So you ask me right after I'm done teaching this class. So first I want to talk about what locals are to someone that might not know competitive Smash. So local tournaments are usually these small tournaments here and there in your local area that have around 10 to 20 participants in terms of competitors. Locals are usually hosted by clubs, small organization, maybe a school activity or a school club is hosting it, or even a group of friends that just want to host a Smash tournament. Some locals are at school campus rooms, sharing a classroom space, or maybe if they have an esports space. Shout out if you go to a school that has an esports space, by the way. Those look really cool. And if you do have one, you should definitely take advantage of having access to that space. It could also be like a small business venue. I've seen locals held at like food places, donut shops, coffee cafes, even a library. So they could be anywhere really. Or it could even be in someone's house or backyard. You just have to keep an eye out for where locals can be. And there's probably going to be a Smash tournament there. You could find these local tournaments on websites like start.gg. You could find them in trusted Discord communities, or you could even find them in Facebook groups too. And I'm sure you could find it in other websites as well. But these were the main 3 that I found my local tournaments at, and usually also word of mouth from other friends too. Local tournaments generally cost around $10 to $15 to compete or participate, and they usually offer discounts. So if you are a Smash player that has a car and you carpool some of the participants, the TO or tournament organizer could give you a discount for your ticket to compete. And they could also give you a discount if you provide a setup, which entails a monitor, a switch with all the characters, and a controller adapter. Now, let's talk about why locals are important. And remember, I am gearing this towards the beginners that are interested in tournaments. But again, if you are from any skill level, I feel like all of this information is important to everybody. I really only divided it because it was easier for me to center my thoughts about this thing. But the importance of small tournaments is that these locals are going to be the first step to your professional journey in Smash. So I wouldn't be where I am today being able to teach about Smash Ultimate stuff as a coach without locals or without attending my local game shop for a melee tournament that only had 10 people and one of the competitors their name was Jamaican Mango. I would not be where I am today without these locals around me. These locals allow you to meet people that share the same desire to compete or improve, or even people that just share their enjoyment of playing Smash. Locals allow you to experience competitive environments, so you can improve much more drastically. When you play Smash just on, or if you just play Smash at home, you don't really have that external push to force yourself to grow, but going into a local helps with that, lighting that fire under you to make you grow faster. Locals can help you make new friends, so you could start scrimming together, you could hang out together, discuss topics about Smash. How do I deal with this matchup? Or like, hey, you're a Samus main. What would you recommend me doing against this other Samus main that I'm about to fight? The small tourneys also, or locals also might have pretty cool merch or food, some food specials unique to that local. If you have attended a local and any of these cool exclusive merch or food specials that you had at your local, please feel to leave them down in the comments below so people can see what cool things these locals can offer. And all of these are just good to help you grow as a competitor. And I add a little footnote here where I understand that some people might not have access to travel to locals, like to drive to a local tournament. But even nowadays in 2024 and going into the future years of Smash, there's a lot of online tournaments as well. Most of them are free to join or free to compete in. And I would see online tournaments as very easily accessible locals. As long as you have good Wi-Fi, you should be okay with competing in the online locals. It's kind of weird to call it an online local, but I would still say that the same benefits from this can transfer to online tournaments. Maybe not the merchant food specials, but the other three will help a lot. Something that I do want to talk about for newer competitors. So let's say that you're going to your first local, or you've been going to a couple locals here and there, but you're still getting your feet wet. When you go to these tournaments, I want you to remember that your experience is much more valuable than the trophies. And what I mean by that is I want you to focus on your mastery of the game over winning the tournament. Now, of course, everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to get first, second, third. But if this is your first tournament, don't set your expectations too high. It's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve when competing outside your comfort zone, and you're gonna lose. Well, let's just be blunt. That's everyone loses. Everyone used to be an 0-2er. All your favorite pros that you've ever seen have gone 0-2 in a tournament. Everyone has experienced that. You have to be able to lose to grow. And if you're able to bounce back after a loss and come back stronger and stronger, that is way more valuable than getting a trophy or getting a placement. Your wins will come naturally. Don't worry about winning, just worry about improving yourself. Focus on your gameplay and controlling your tournament nerves. I know for myself, when I compete, I get pretty nervous. I still get a little shaky if I do go to tournaments, but I do remember reflecting on how to control my emotions during a set and how to stay calm and stick to my game plan without letting my emotions take me for a ride to a gameplay that I don't want to do. So think about things like, how are you going to take stocks when you go to your tournament? What's your win conditions? How do you see yourself winning? Or how do you see yourself taking stocks from your opponent? How's your movement? Smash Ultimate is a platform fighter, so as long as you have to continually practice your movement in this game. So maybe what do you excel at and what are some areas of improvement for your movement? And how are you feeling during a match? Be honest with yourself. Sometimes you feel like confident, other people might have some butterflies in their stomach for their first match. Use these locals as a way to exercise your talents in Smash, similar to like going to a gym to become stronger. You're not going to be able to bench 300 right off the bat. You have to work up to it. I'm not saying that I could bench 300, but over time, the more locals you go to and the more that you focus on mastery, the more organic your growth is going to be. And that's when your trophies and winning will come in. They'll come in due time. But for now, if you're a beginner, just focus on gaining more and more experience. And speaking of experience, the real experience that comes from tournaments and locals isn't from the actual bracket itself, in my opinion. It's actually from the friendlies. So what friendlies are is usually there's a couple leftover setups here and there in the venue where people are just playing games. There's no bracket to it. They're just playing games together, but still following the same competitive format. And you could probably go to a setup like these people sitting around a monitor and just playing some matches. You see the signs here, it says open for friendlies. So after you finish your bracket run, whatever you place, first I want to give you congratulations for attending your first local or a local. Having that confidence to put yourself out there in a competitive environment is commendable, and big props to anyone that does attend tournaments. For real, good job. Actually, genuinely good job. After you finish your bracket run, there should be some extra setups available around the venue while the bracket is finishing up. So during this time, you should probably get some friendlies started to make even more progress and get more value from attending the tournament. So if you see any of these setups, maybe go up to them, ask particular people if they want to play. I remember one tournament that I got second at. Someone walked up to me and was like, "Hey, can we do some friendlies?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I'm for the 95% of the time they'll be more than happy to play with you. Hopefully, I very optimistic for Smash players. Having a rotation helps you improve quickly. So let's look at these three people. So like three players 1 and 2 are playing. Let's say player 1 wins, player 2 hops off, and then player 3 joins the rotation to fight player 1. And having that type of rotation is good. Or you just have like a fair organized one where it's like player 1 plays player 2, player 2 then plays player 3, player 3 plays player 1, and it just keeps on going. So it's a more so everyone gets equal games. It's up to you to decide that. And lastly, the biggest part about locals is it helps you build stamina for future bracket runs. So as an example, if I'm playing Valorant, I could only play 2 ranked games. I don't have the stamina for that game because I don't grind that game that much. I get 2 wins in ranked. I see my RR go up 30. I'm good. I don't want to play anymore because I'm fatigued. I'm tired. I don't want to deal with this game anymore. And that's my stamina. But for Smash, I could play this game for hours if I wanted to because I have built up that stamina of grinding out multiple matches, and I don't feel fatigued as much because it's a game that I've built up or I've conditioned myself to compete for long periods of time. So this is when you go to locals, try to get some friendlies going, and you'll just grow. You'll just get a lot better from friendlies. I have been yapping for a while, so these last 2 tips, I'm going to try to speedrun a little bit. I'm sorry, but thank you for listening. If you're still here, I really appreciate you for listening. Please consider subscribing. I don't really like plugging subscribing that much, but if you're still here, that means you're listening, and I really appreciate you. So a like, comment, and subscribe would help out a lot. Let's talk about tournament rules. So this one is a bit more like what to expect at a tournament. A general rule set for a lot of Smash Ultimate tournaments is as follows. It's 3 stocks, generally 7 minutes. Most is a set, so best of 3 or win 2 games and you win that set. If it's around the top half of the tournament, where it's top 8, they'll probably transition to best of 5. And at every tournament, there is a stage list and a stage ban system. So let's talk about stage lists first. There's starter stages and counterpick stages. Basically, when you start a set, game 1, you could only pick from the starter stages. And for games after game 1, you could pick from the starter stages plus the counterpick stages. And there's also a ban system, which can vary from different tournaments. This is from the Coinbox IRL, so I'll just do a little simulation of what stage picking and banning could look like. Most people just insta-pick Pokemon Stadium 2, but if you do want to do stage bans, which I highly recommend you practice doing bans, this is how it would look like. So imagine player 1 and player 2, you play rock, paper, scissors, decide who bans first. So let's say player 1 wins rock, paper, scissors. So only look at these top 5 stages: Battlefield, PS2, Small Battlefield, Smashville, and Town City. Player 1 bans 1 stage. So let's say they ban PS2. Player 2 now gets 2 bans, so they ban Battlefield and Small Battlefield. Now, player 1 has the option to start the set with either Smashville or Town and City. Player 1 picks Smashville, and let's say player 1 wins game 1. After each game, the winner generally bans 2 stages from the entire list now. So that's starters plus counterpick. So let's say player 1 bans PS2 and Kalos Pokemon League because player 1 does not like Pokemon for some reason. Player 2 now gets a pick from the rest of the stages, and they will continue this until someone wins the set. There's other rules too, so just make sure to read the rule set just in case, but that's generally how it goes. And most tournaments are double elimination bracket. So there's an upper bracket and a lower bracket. Everyone starts in the upper bracket of the tournament. If you lose, you get knocked into the lower bracket where you're still in the tournament, but if you lose one more set, that's when you're out. And you basically are fighting other people that have lost in the upper bracket. This is important because if you make it to grand finals from the winner side or the upper side, your opponent, who's coming from the lower bracket, has to beat you in 2 sets to win the tournament. Generally speaking, there's some tournaments that might not abide to that rule, but that's generally how it works for double elimination. And some locals will probably run single elimination. So again, just keep an eye out for that. Oh my gosh, I've been yapping so much. The last tip I have for beginners going to new local tournaments is stage preparation. So consider which legal stages helps you play your best. Consider your character when picking a stage or banning stages. So let's say you play Mario, you probably want to go to a stage with platforms, preferably tri-platforms, because you do your cool up air combos, and that's just where Mario can get a lot of quick stocks. If you play a character like Kazuya, you might want to prioritize a more flat stage with less platforms. So if you could go to FD, you'll probably go to FD as Kazuya. But also consider what stages you personally like to play. So I see a lot of people see their character and they say, my Mario is great on Battlefield, so I will try to force Battlefield every time. But also think about your comfort stages, just stages that you personally just like to play it and you feel like very comfortable in. So for me personally, I would much rather play on small Battlefield over PS2. And I know a lot of people like play on PS2 and it kind of irks me. So I'd rather just ban PS2 and go to small Battlefield instead. That's just me. So you have to reflect on what you like to do. And as long as you genuinely like your stage pick, that's all good. And the last thing to consider when doing your bans at a tournament is think about where your opponent likes to go. So look at their character, maybe after game one, because you might not know who they play game one. If they play a character that are clearly stronger in a certain stage, use that knowledge to ban those stages if you can, or just not go to those stages. So for example, if you're playing against a Pikachu, you ban Kalos, because the T-Jolts can climb up the walls, Pikachu can wall jump, and it just gives Pikachu a lot more options than they normally wouldn't have. So might as well just get rid of it, just so you don't have to deal with those extra abilities that Pikachu gains from the stage itself. Answer these 3 questions before you go to a local, just so that you're a bit more prepared when banning and you feel a bit more ready for opponents. And that's today's class. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time for the intermediate version for tournament tips. Bye bye.